our studios on MDI Road. This is Grts News. We begin with the headlines. Expanding global peace, security, and development, His Excellency President Adama Barrow joins world leaders at the first ever Russia-Africa Summit in Sochi. Moving to address challenges faced by the country's largest majority, the Women and Children's Affairs Minister wraps up her nationwide tour. And galvanizing support for young people, regional youth leaders meet in Banjul for a major forum on population and development planning. Elsewhere in Africa, 900,000 registered voters head to the polls in Botswana, where the ruling BDP faces its toughest challenge since assuming power. And Justin Trudeau narrowly wins another mandate, but his Liberal Party rather faces defeat in Parliament with 13 seats short of a majority. These and other stories coming ahead. Thanks for staying with us. I am Jainaba Jallo Marong. A warm welcome to Grts News. My name is Jainaba Jallo Marong. We begin with the first ever Russia-Africa Summit taking place in Sochi, where more than 40 world leaders, including His Excellency President Adama Barrow, gathered to end inter-ethnic conflict and advance global peace. Our presidential affairs correspondent, Mamadou Jallo, is with the delegation and filed in this report.
In the lead-up to the formal opening of the Made in Russia-Africa Summit in the Black Sea resort of Sochi, leaders gathered for a business forum chaired by Russian President Vladimir Putin. The forum sought to lay the groundwork for expanding the existing cooperation between Moscow and the African continent. The Russian leader believes that the current trade turnover between Russia and Africa should be increased beyond its current level of $20 billion if the two sides diversify the existing cooperation. Putin acknowledged the growing importance of Africa as the next frontier and asserted that Russia will continue to support the continent's development and progress. Experts believe that both Russia and Africa are rich in mineral resources and as such should complement rather than compete each other. In this light, Africa can learn from Russia's experience and competencies in achieving sustainable development. The Executive Secretary of the Southern African Development Community said Africa sees Russia as a key partner in energy, science and technology, agriculture and education, but called on Africa to move beyond the mere extraction and production of raw materials by investing in key infrastructure to add value to its resources. The summit proper is expected to open on Thursday and will be addressed by the host Vladimir Putin and Egypt's Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. Meanwhile, on the sidelines of the summit, the President, His Excellency Adama Barrow, held bilateral talks with his Mauritanian counterpart, His Excellency Mohamed Ould Al-Ghazouani. The two leaders agreed to work together to strengthen the existing relationship between the two countries, with President Barrow hailing the smooth transfer of power in Mauritania as a positive development for the sub-region. Mamadou Jallo, GRTS News.
And now to a symbolic move of friendship highlighting a robust relationship. The First Lady Fatoumata Barrow Wednesday received 50 tons of dates through her FAB Foundation at the State House. The dates are donated by the King Salman Humanitarian Aid and Relief Center in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. The Minister of Women, Children and Social Welfare, Fatou Sanyang Kinte, as well as governors from all regions were present for the handing over. Sena Bujany reports.
The King Salman Humanitarian Aid and Relief Center paid a courtesy call to First Lady Fatoumata Barrow. The group later presented tons of dates to the First Lady's Foundation. Government officials returned gratitude to the King Salman Humanitarian Aid and Relief Center for the gesture, highlighting the crucial bilateral ties between the two countries.
The fact that Saudi representatives from the Saudi government and the Humanitarian Aid and Relief Center traveled all the way from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to personally present these gifts to the First Lady shows their level of commitment and willingness to further collaborate for the welfare of all Gambians, and for that, we thank you immensely.
The Minister of Women's, Children and Social Welfare, Fatou Sanyang Kinte, noted that this is not the first time such gesture was given and reiterated government appreciation of such gesture.
And I want to believe that the number of people that receive these deeds is quite a large number. And the mere fact that you do it on an annual basis, it means year in, year out, you are being rewarded by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We want to thank you very much for the initiative, because Gambia is always chosen among many countries. And the reason for that is because of the partnership and collaboration that is between the government of Saudi and the government of the Gambia.
A representative from the King Salman Humanitarian Aid and Relief Center, Abdullah Al-Abdul Latif, said that this is the start of many more gifts and aids from the agency.
It's a gift for the people who needs. This is a gesture from King Salman. Every time, all the years, we are giving the deeds for separate countries, and we chosen the Gambia and the foundation to be responsible this time.
As the handing over of the dates was made by the King Salman Humanitarian Aid to the First Lady of the Gambia, Betty Sen of the FAB Foundation expresses gratitude from the Humanitarian Aid and Relief Center of King Salman.
FAB has survived due to the help of our dedicated donors like King Salman, who has contributed greatly on our objectives of giving back to society, especially to the women, children, and the underprivileged. We thank you for thinking of the Gambia, and thank you for the effort in facilitating this huge donation for the people of our country.
Beneficiaries from various organizations also expressed their appreciation of this grand gesture.
I want to give you this message, extend our deepest gratitude to King Salman, and let him know that these gifts would go a long way, and we will definitely make sure that everybody that is supposed to benefit from these dates will receive it.
On behalf of the people living with HIV in the Gambia, we are privileged and honored to be part of these beneficiaries today.
Actually, the beneficiaries are the people in the regions, and we'll make sure that the gift reach them accordingly. When we go back, we'll make sure that Islamic people or religious people, all other individuals in the regions will get benefit of the deeds that is going to be distributed today.
As the handing over ceremony came to an end, the donors reaffirmed their total support towards the government of the Gambia and the FAB Foundation to reach the communities. Saina Bujang for GRTS News.
A former Oddly 2 ex-president Yahya Jammeh today appeared before the Truth, Reconciliation and Reparations Commission, testifying on the gruesome killings of people in the Gambia by Jammeh's hit squad and his relations to the former president. Yusuf Asane in his testimony reveals that in 2006, while from transporting agricultural harvest to State House on board their vehicle, Solo Bojang led them to a residence in Kololi, where a group of 8 people were escorted to the bushes heading to Bambarang towards Casamas for execution. The former AFPRC junta members Sana Sabali and Edward Singate also met to reconcile their differences towards national building. Usman Mane reports.
The Sifo-born former military officer is among the 18th intake of the Gambian National Army in 1995. He serves as orderly to 2 different battalion commanders at Fajara Barracks before being transferred to the State Guard as orderly to former President Yahya Jammeh. After receiving the commando training, Yusuf Asane was among the patrol team who later transformed to be junglers. Sane revealed that he was among the team that burned down the independent newspaper under the orders of Yahya Jammeh through General Suleiman Baji. According to him, he and his colleague were hijacked by Bora Koli and taken to a scene where 8 people were murdered who are allegedly to be mercenaries to dislodge Jammeh's regime.
It was because of the gunshots that we heard. That was the reason why we alighted. Tumbul Tamba returned. He came back to where the drivers and the rest of us were standing. He said that if anybody were to say anything, you would follow these individuals.
The former Oddly to Yahya Jammeh denied being part of the execution of the alleged 2009 foil coup plotters Daba Marena and Co. Commenting on the sexual violence offenses, the former Oddly to the president noted over 30 women usually visit Jammeh at odd hours for his pleasure. As Oddly to the president, Mr. Sane described the erratic behavior of Jammeh, thus using abusive language towards their parents.
Because here you are working for somebody, and then you have him constantly abusing your mother.
Correctly.
And also you are there, but you are unable to have a proper sleep. If you are seated and you are dozing off, and if unfortunately he finds you in that state, sometimes he comes along with a whip. And when he comes there and finds us there, he used to beat us with a whip.
Narrating his ordeal at the NIA in 2012 due to an allegation of theft and tampering with Jammeh's weapon, Sane disclosed that he was tortured, causing spinal problems on his back before being released and reinstated as Oddly. He said absconding during a visit in the U.S. was the available option to leave the army in 2014. Meanwhile, the reconciliation of the TRRC facilitated a meeting between the two former AFPRC junta members, Sana Sabali and Edward Singate, who for many years were adversaries following Sabali's arrest and imprisonment in Mile 2. The meeting, initiated by Sana, brought the two to reconcile and further appeal for forgiveness for their actions from Gambians towards national healing.
We had our intentions. It did not end up like that. In the process, we fell apart to such an extent that you had to go through something so terrible. Yes, I had assassination attempts and I was poisoned and people shot at me, but that is nothing compared to what you had to go through. No human being should have had to go through that.
Yeah, but the Almighty Allah have told us in the Quran, La yukallifullahu nafsan illa wasu'aha maksabat. That is to say, on no soul does Allah place a burden other than what you can bear.
I cannot apologize enough. I cannot find the words that to express the regret of my contribution to what you went through.
I already did that from the day I left the prisons. At the gate, I had said it clearly, I had forgiven. Even Jammeh, if he stood standing before me, I would tell him the same thing. And today, I reiterate again on behalf of my family and myself, I have forgiven completely, wholeheartedly from my mind.
The meeting, initiated by Sana, brought the two to reconcile and further appeal for forgiveness from Gambians for their actions during the transitional period of the AFPRC. The chairman of the Reconciliation Committee, Imam Usainu Jallo, noted the importance of the event to the healing process of the country. Usman Mane, GRTS.
Meanwhile, a major move to address challenges affecting women has taken the Minister of Women, Children and Social Welfare on a familiarization tour to reach out to the country's biggest majority. As Senabu Jain tells us, the Minister, Fatou Sanyang Kinte, and her delegation concluded their familiarization tour with visits to various communities in the Upper River region and the West Coast to gather first-hand information on the community's needs.
The Minister of Women, Children and Social Welfare continued her nationwide tour with a visit to the Kulukele Multi-Purpose Center in Basse. The center trains young people on skills development such as soap making, tie and dye and tailoring, amongst others. The minister also held a meeting with the community members to discuss the challenges women and children in the area are faced with. The minister and delegation also visited the SOS Children's Village in Basse, where she also held a meeting with the children and the women of the community. The next port of call on the minister's familiarization tour was Gambisara in the Upper River region. Speaking at the Gambisara meeting, the lady councillor of the area, Jara Jagana, highlighted numerous issues affecting women farmers in the area. Various speakers shared similar constraints. Key among them is the disadvantage faced by differently abled children in school. The Minister of Women, Children and Social Welfare, Fatou Sanyan Kinte, said that women have been suffering for far too long, thus the need for the establishment of a ministry that looks at their welfare, their children and society at large. She also revealed some of the plans the ministry intends to take in addressing some of the challenges discussed during the tour.
Some are saying that they don't have good routes to be able to travel to the health facilities or even to their rice fields. And some are complaining of markets. And these are the vegetable growers. They complain about markets, and some are also complaining that they don't have access to the health facility. This is more women of Nyani, and they are in the north of CRR. And in the north of CRR, the major health center is here in Kuntawur, and the complaint is that they don't have access to the health facility because of poor routes. So we have noted all of their problems. And then when we get back to Banjul, we'll discuss with our colleagues in other ministries and together come up with a program to solve some of the problems.
Fatou Damfa is the head of the Women's Enterprise Fund at the Women's Bureau. She explained the importance of the funds in improving the welfare of women.
It is set up to make sure that the challenges women are facing in terms of business, whatever they are into, that brings livelihood to them, to help them enhance that and to help eradicate poverty. And the targeted number of women that we are targeting is more than 10,000 women and girls that we want to benefit from this project. And I want the Gambian women to know that this is not a project for just the women in the Combo areas or the Banjo area. No, this is a project for the whole of Gambia.
The minister and delegation later continued to the Lower River region, where she held a meeting in Jarasoma. The women leader in the area, Aja Maimuna Juf, highlighted the concerns of the women in her community. The hardships of women here is that they farm, but they don't have any farming equipment. Also, child rights need to be sensitized in the regions because children themselves don't even know their rights, because they will tell you it's my right if I don't go to school, and that is not good. The Soma meeting was followed by a meeting in Kalaji and Foni Bondali in the West Coast region. After a rousing welcome for the minister and delegation, various speakers lamented the lack of trained health personnel at their health facilities, among many constraints they face. Fatou Sambu, the lady councillor, pointed out lack of water at their garden as a major problem they are grappling with. The Assistant Social Welfare Officer, Philly Nyasi, assured his office's resolve to urgently look into the major issues discussed during the meetings.
What we will try to do is we noted down all the concerns of the people, and because we know almost all the region we visited, their concerns are almost the same. So what we're going to do is we'll make sure that those that are immediate needs we'll discuss it as a team and see how best to address them accordingly.
The minister and delegation wrapped up the tour with a visit to Foni Bondali. Saint Bujang for GRTS News.
The National Assembly Select Committee on Regional Government, Lands, Ombudsman and IEC is expanding its oversight functions with visits to various municipal councils to observe their performance. In the latest appearance before the Select Committee, officials of the Kanifing Municipal Council also presented their financial and activity report of the year under review. Famara Baji has more.
Officials of the Kanifing Municipal Council, headed by the Deputy Mayor Musa Ba, faced the National Assembly Select Committee on Regional Lands, Ombudsman and IEC to review last season's visit by lawmakers. The head of the Select Committee, Musa Amulnyasi, outlined the purpose of the Select Committee and its role in appraising municipal operations for effective delivery.
During the last oversight mission, we had the opportunity to engage with the management. We had the opportunity to visit the projects. Based on that, we have developed a questionnaire, and now the questionnaire is going to lead the discussions.
Parliamentarians then engaged KMC officials on various issues and operational processes at the municipality. Musa Ba and his team responded with answers, shedding light on the council's effort to implement its mandate. KMC officials also pleaded with lawmakers to engage the central government for help to resolve some of their major challenges.
We know the problem of the people. We want to make sure that government open up those windows so that we can address the backward side, we can address the mapping analysis, we can take care of flash floods. We can also be able to support and recommended to bodies that can help the council. And is there any funds that come to government, they think about us?
We'll definitely love this committee to extend the cries of all the council so that come next year, our subventions, we are honored.
The National Assembly Select Committee on Local Government will embark on a fact-finding visit to the Carnifing Municipal on Tuesday to examine issues raised by the council in a bid to support ongoing programs. Farmer Abaji, GRTS News.
Tomorrow is United Nations Day. People around the world will commemorate global efforts to attain peace and a sustainable world under different localized themes. In the Gambia, UN Day celebrations will be premised on achieving sustainable peace through dialogue. This year's commemoration, according to the UN resident representative to the Gambia, Seraphine Wakana, focuses on boosting national unity with major events and activities planned in the North and Lower River regions to encourage community action towards peace and development. Let's take a listen.
As a key development partner of the government and people of the Gambia, we support and are equally committed to the implementation of the National Development Plan, the government's top development agenda. In this regard, we provide support in areas of economic management, governance and human rights, human capital development, sustainable agriculture, environment and climate change management, and other sectors relevant to the country's socio-economic development through the United Nations Sustainable Development Cooperation Framework. We believe our partnership with the government and the people of the Gambia will bring us closer to the attainment of the Sustainable Development Goals. This year's localized UN Day theme is Achieving Sustainable Peace through Dialogue, Our Roles and Responsibilities. The theme was chosen to engage all Gambians to reflect on what we can do as individuals and collectively to enhance peace and stability. Strengthening dialogue amongst all stakeholders is particularly important as the Gambia is going through a transition to a more inclusive and democratic government. This is in the alignment with the SDG 16 that aims to promote peaceful and inclusive societies for sustainable development, provide access to justice for all, and build effective, accountable, and inclusive institutions at all levels. In commemoration of our birthday this year, the UN will join the people of the North Bank and the Lower River regions in engagement and community development activities. These include road rehabilitation, blood donation, and community cleansing exercise among us.
UN resident representative Seraphine Wakana on UN Day celebrations in the Gambia. The maiden edition of the West African Youth Leaders Forum on Population and Development youth leaders from across the sub-region for a two-day forum to discuss issues concerning youth development. The roundtable will galvanize support to prepare interventions ahead of the ICPD 25 summit to be held in Nairobi, Kenya this year. By Ibrahim Cham has more.
Dozens of youths from across the region converge in Banjul for the first ever West African Youth Leaders Forum on Population and Development. The theme for this year's event is ICPD 25, Contributions of West African Youth to Accelerate the Promise. The program seeks to revise and discuss cross-cutting issues concerning young people in order to review the 200 recommendations made 25 years ago at the ICPD meeting in Cairo, Egypt. The chairman of the National Youth Council, Dembo Kambi, made an electrifying statement pressing African youths to be committed to the development of their own future and change their narratives by rewriting their own history.
We, the young people of Africa, should not continue to ask questions. We've asked questions for so long, and it is time for us to give answers. And how can we give answers? Is to revolutionize our approach to development, to our empowerment, so that we will be able to rewrite the narratives of not only West Africa, not only countries within ECOWAS, but Africa as a whole.
Jennifer Yeri from the African Youth Council spoke on the importance of sexual reproductive health and rights, including comprehensive sexuality education at all levels. The partnership statement was made by the UNFPA country representative, who believed that stakeholders can change the paradigm by educating the girl child, ending maternal mortality and FGM.
If we say the young people of Africa by 2022 would have set up a structure to do serious advocacy, to ensure that every country has a process for young people advocacy in maternal health and maternal mortality. That is specific, that is achievable, that is measurable.
The Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Youth and Sports, Hassan Jallow, stated that the Gambia has been at the forefront in championing and promoting youth development at all levels.
Under the auspices of my ministry, the Ministry of Youth and Sports, the Republic of the Gambia is hosting this sub-regional youth gathering today to hear from young people directly on how they are contributing to accelerating the delivery of the Cairo 1994 promise at national level.
According to officials, the forum marks the beginning of fruitful discussions identifying key development priorities for African youths in an effort to address issues concerning young people during the upcoming ICPD 25 summit in Nairobi. Reporting for GRTS News, I'm by Ibrahim Chan.
The Minister of Youth and Sports, Hadrame Sidibe, has visited new intakes of the National Youth Service Scheme. The courtesy call, as Khadija Tujalo reports, is meant to express solidarity and motivate young trainees freshly joining the program.
Badge of the National Youth Service Scheme, numbering 150 trainees. The trainees, according to the Executive Director, Emmanuel Mendy, are in their second week of training, which amongst other things seeks to promote skills development and discipline among the youth.
The purpose of the orientation is to instill discipline in these young people and also expose them to their rights and responsibilities as good citizens of this country. And we all know that for us to build a better society, we need disciplined young people.
The Minister of Youth and Sports, Hadrame Sidibe, and his Deputy Permanent Secretary, Sute Jao, addressing the trainees, reiterated government's commitment to have a disciplined and responsible youth folk.
We want Gambia to be an example of the world. Example of what? Example of discipline and self-restraint. In doing that, we couldn't be able to do it alone without you. And this is the more reason why we said you should come together, come here, learn how to really comport yourself in the midst of your peers across the world, and at the same time learn skills that will help you to be self-sustained.
Today, Luanda young people, they have launched a mobile made in Africa. They are building drones, and they are just young people like you. That's why the skills that they are giving you here, please take it.
Minister Sidibe called on the participants to make best use of the opportunity and share the knowledge gained with their colleagues back in their respective regions. The one-month orientation session is expected to prepare these participants to overcome future challenges in executing their occupational skills. Khadija Tujalo, reporting for GRTS News.
Community Development and Conflict Resolution Foundation, a local-based organization, has convened a press briefing on the foundation activities and projects in Serekunda. The organization trains members on leadership and conflict resolution skills to strengthen capacity in carrying out peace-building activities for a cohesive society to achieve sustainable development. Ibrahima Nsane reports.
In his keynote address, the Secretary General Conflict Resolution Foundation, Mohamed Karim Toure, dilated on the importance of peace for national development, adding that the sovereignty of the country must no longer be used as a shield for gross violation of human rights.
Lead by driving our power, by driving our mandate from the electorate, that is the Gambian people. No sovereign people can give each profound meaning to the right to self-determination unless their right as a sovereign people is cleared, definite, crystallized in their minds and their hearts.
He said the citizens of the Gambia needed constitutional instruments, institutions, policies, and programs that would safeguard their collective sovereignty, security, liberty, and prosperity. He used the forum to call on Gambians to jealously safeguard the peace and stability of the country.
Peace belongs not only to the state and the people, but...
We'll be back with news from outside the Gambia right after this break. Don't go away. Welcome back to Grts News. Botswana Independent Electoral Commission says all systems are ready for the 11th general elections that kicked off this morning, which will see more than 900,000 voters cast their votes. And Monday's federal election in Canada was viewed as a referendum on Justin Trudeau, who had a difficult first term, rocked by scandal. Trudeau's Liberal Party is projected to win 157 seats, 13 short of a majority. The Conservatives are expected to win 121 seats, and the New Democratic Party will secure 24 seats in the 338 seats. Well, before we end this edition of the news, we go back to the top stories. Expanding global peace, security, and development, His Excellency President Adama Barrow has joined world leaders at the first ever Russia-Africa Summit in Sochi. Moving to address challenges faced by the country's largest majority, the Women and Children's Affairs Minister has wrapped up her nationwide tour. And galvanizing support for young people, regional youth leaders are meeting in Banjul for a major forum on population and development planning. Elsewhere in Africa, 900,000 registered voters are heading to the polls in Botswana, where the ruling BDP faces its toughest challenge since assuming power. And Justin Trudeau narrowly has won another mandate, but his Liberal Party faces defeat in Parliament with 13 seats short of a majority. Well, that's all in this edition of Grts News. Thanks for the pleasure of your company, and enjoy the rest of our programs.